Waldman. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Owen.
Owen, let's start with you. What's been big in your part of the world, which is pretty much everything besides the Middle East? Take us
Pretty much, but we're going to get a lot more specific this week. This week, we're going the full Modi. Narendra Modi making his visit, the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Israel, taking a look at how the Indian press and at the end how the Pakistani press covered the visit. Ami, as you may know, India has a thriving English language press, both in print and on television. A lot of interest in this visit. And by the way, I was out in the field this week covering the visit. You see the Indian reporters out there and talk to them, see how many of them were here, how interested they are. We should say the coverage was overwhelmingly positive of the visit. You will find some critical articles and pieces, and anyone goes on the web and looks for them, you will find them, but the balance is overwhelmingly positive, and that's what we're going to see. First of all, The Hindu, a left-leaning paper centered on southern India. This is an article by a former Indian diplomat, basically profiling the relationship with the visit and the backdrop. You like that graphic with the Israeli flag tied as a ribbon to show the celebratory nature of what was happening. He says that it wasn't just symbolism. There's a lot of substances of this relationship, points to the agreements that were signed, the way the ties have deepened over the last few decades and the last few years in particular. So again, that's the take of an Indian elite. Now we'll move on to the Deccan Herald, also a newspaper from southern India. Ami, the Israeli embassy in India, when they saw this in their press clips, I think they raised a glass of wine. This is exactly the kind of article that Israeli diplomats would like to see. Look at this. Lessons that India can learn from the startup nation Israel. Don't be ashamed of failure. Do things the way the Israelis do them. Let's be the startup nation just like Israel was. Again, overwhelmingly positive the coverage was overall of this visit.
That's what Indians were kind of asking themselves, right? They were asking, what does this small little nation of 8 million people actually have to offer us 1.2 billion people? And I guess that's how they're trying to rationalize it, right?
Well, that's one of the things. Of course, defense is the big one. India is the biggest buyer of Israeli arms in the world. Israel is India's third biggest supplier. It's big business, as we all know.
We're talking billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. And this is one of the world's major armies. And Israel is its third largest supplier. India, for a big industry in this country like arms, is Israel's biggest client. There's also the diamond trade. There's also agriculture and water technology, which is not just about being feel-good stuff. It's not just about being do-gooders. Ami, this is strategic for India. They have 1.2 billion mouths to feed.
Very true.
So they like Israeli agriculture and water technology a whole lot. We'll move on, just to show the level of interest in this visit. Move on to the Indian Express. And in the same way that people here in India are curious about how the Indian press is covering the visit, here we have the Indian press curious about how the Israeli press is covering the visit. A press review in the Indian press going through the Jerusalem Post, the Times of Israel, Haaretz, both in English and in Hebrew, seeing how the Israeli press is looking at the visit and the relationship. Just shows the depth of the coverage and the quality of the coverage throughout the Indian media, which I just found absolutely fascinating.
Were they saying that what were they saying about how we were covering it here?
Well, they were saying that the Israeli press looks and sees a very positive relationship and is really excited about the visit, which is really what it is, what we saw. Maybe not on the street level. I don't know how many men on the street knew Narendra Modi was even in town, but among the media, this was a big news story here.
Were they also showing a lot of the bromance pictures?
Oh, sure, yeah. The picture on the beach was all over.
All over the beach, right?
Not just on Twitter, it was in the press too. We're going to move on to television now. The India Today television station, one of a number of 24-hour English-language TV channels in India. Again, 1 billion people or more, a large middle class, large numbers of English speakers because of India's history, thriving market. Let's take a look at just 30 seconds of what India Today had to say and during its coverage of the visit.
Okay, let's take a look.
So how much has the world and Indian politics changed in the last 70 years that today an Indian Prime Minister seems to be dehyphenating ties with Israel and Palestine? That's the first question I want to raise today on what many are billing as a historic day for India-Israel ties. Are India and Israel really natural allies? Do their interests now completely converge? Is Israel India's ally in its war on terror, its best ally?
Okay, wait, you have to explain to me dehyphenating ties.
Right. We actually looked this up in the dictionary. The word doesn't exist, but Indian diplomats are doing their very best to create it. The idea is that in the past, at India and many nations today try to balance their relationship between Israel and the Palestinians. So when a leader comes to visit, they visit Israel and they go through Yad Vashem and Mount Herzl and the president's residence and meet with the prime minister, but they also go to Ramallah and meet with President Abbas and go through the Palestinian ceremonies as well. At the symbolic level and even at the level of content and policy, they try to maintain the relations with both and see the relationship with each in the context of the relationship with the other. So the relations with Israel are part of the relations toward the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The idea here is that Narendra Modi, what he wants to do, what the BJP want to do, is dehyphenate the relationship. Have relations with Israel that aren't all about the conflict, that are about things like defense cooperation, about agriculture and water cooperation, about trade, about people-to-people ties. They're still interested in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They're still interested in relations with the Palestinians and certainly with the Arab world, but to separate the two and have them be on separate tracks, shown in this visit by the fact that Modi didn't visit Ramallah.
And it's important to note that I think they tried to maybe sugarcoat it, the Indians, by stressing that they invited Mahmoud Abbas to India about a month before this visit. So he had his meeting with Narendra Modi about a month before, but not while he was here in the region.
Right, and it definitely sends a message because most foreign leaders who come here, certainly on a visit as high profile as this one, certainly being here for 2 full days, would go to Ramallah and visit the Palestinians as Donald Trump did most recently.
So the question is why? Why would they dehyphenate the relationship with the Palestinians and not visit the Palestinian Authority?
Because they're interested in all of these other things.
Right.
They want the defense cooperation. They need Israel as much as Israel needs them, in a sense, which is what Ami's question was. And they see this relationship as a high priority. So this is, again, is one remark and an event leading up to the visit. What Indians say is from Marrakesh to Bangladesh, there are only 2 countries that are democracies and non-Muslim. That's how they see the world. It's very, very interesting. Finally, we go to the Pakistani press. Obviously, not so elated at this visit. Pakistan, India's rival, a Muslim country, and then they have a conflict over Kashmir. The Dawn, the largest English language newspaper in Pakistan, an editorial saying, listen, if India is going to gang up with Israel, we in Pakistan have to take our own steps. And what does that mean? Look at what the Iranians had to say at the backdrop of this visit, pushing the Kashmir card and taking aim at India over that. This newspaper editorial drawing parallels between Israeli policy towards the Palestinians in the West Bank and Indian policy toward Muslim Kashmiris, again showing how potent that conflict is to Pakistanis. Pakistan saying, we can't take this visit lying down.
And of course, Pakistanis thinking that some of the technologies that are bought in Israel might be used against them in the future.
And some have been used in Kashmir, in the Kashmir conflict in the future, and yes, could, in theory, be used against Pakistan in the future.